Grunge music fans, brace yourselves for a reality check. While Seattle may be renowned as the birthplace of iconic grunge bands, the city itself doesn't always live up to its legendary reputation. Seattle, the largest city in the Pacific Northwest region of the United States, is situated in Washington state. Often referred to as the Space Needle City due to its iconic 184-meter tall tower, Seattle boasts a skyline dominated by this architectural marvel, which was originally constructed for the 1962 World's Fair. The Space Needle stands not only as a symbol of the city's innovation, but also as a source of immense local pride. Known affectionately as the Rain City, Seattle's reputation for constant drizzle is somewhat exaggerated. While it experiences frequent overcast skies and persistent light rain, the city's total annual rainfall is actually moderate. Beyond its weather, Seattle is a global financial and cultural hub, home to corporate giants such as Microsoft, Starbucks, and Boeing. These companies underscore the city's status as a center of innovation and economic power. However, beneath this shiny exterior lies a stark contrast. Once elegant streets adorned with historic post clocks are now often the gathering spots for the homeless. According to a point-in-time count conducted in January 2020, there were 11,751 individuals experiencing homelessness in Seattle on a single night. Of these, 53% were in shelters, while the remaining 47% had no shelter at all. This figure marked a 5% increase from the previous year. Tent cities and recreational vehicle encampments have become common sights in many parts of Seattle, highlighting the severity of the homelessness crisis. As of January 2023, the city was home to 523 tents and 227 RVs occupying public spaces. Although these numbers reflect a decrease from 2 years prior, when there were over 1,000 tents and more than 300 RVs, homelessness remains a pressing issue. Exacerbating this crisis is Seattle's high cost of living, which was the 9th highest in the United States by the end of 2023. These factors have led to a growing number of people who cannot afford housing, forcing many to live on the streets. In addition to financial hardships, mental illness and drug addiction significantly contribute to homelessness. According to the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, 21% of those experiencing homelessness report having a serious mental illness, and 16% report substance use disorders. Efforts by local governments to clear homeless encampments often face challenges and controversies. Advocates for affordable housing are concerned that funds intended for housing are instead being redirected to cover the city's budget deficit, which exceeds $181 million. In this city, there is also Aurora Avenue, also known as State Route 99, one of the most dangerous roads in Seattle. This area is notorious for street prostitution, drug addiction, and rampant crime, making it one of the harshest areas in the Pacific Northwest. Driving along Aurora Avenue from Shoreline and back feels like passing through an open-air strip club with scantily clad women waving at passing cars. In addition to the presence of sex workers, Aurora Avenue North is also a crucial corridor for business and transportation in Seattle. With high traffic volumes and busy bus routes, this road is a backbone for transporting goods and providing connectivity for densely populated residential and employment areas. However, safety on this road is severely lacking. Traffic accidents are frequent, especially during rush hours, with drivers speeding in bus lanes and pedestrians often being struck. Seattle has now become a city experiencing a widening economic disparity. The cost of living in Seattle is 24% higher than the average for the state of Washington and 45% higher than the national average. Housing in Seattle, for instance, is 112% more expensive compared to the US average. with the median home price reaching over $843,000 at its peak. Meanwhile, basic necessities such as food and clothing are about 20% more expensive, and healthcare services like doctor visits and dental care are around 38% higher compared to the national average. This makes daily life increasingly difficult for many residents. Despite the presence of large tech companies like Amazon and Microsoft, which have spurred incredible economic growth in Seattle, the city faces significant challenges. The tech industry now accounts for 20.2% of Washington State's overall economy, the largest share among all 50 states in the U.S. However, this rapid development has also led to a stark contrast between the high-paid big tech employees and other residents struggling to make ends meet. Big tech employees enjoy high salaries and adequate workplace benefits, while many other residents are forced to deal with a significant rise in living costs without a commensurate increase in income. Gentrification has also become a common phenomenon in many Seattle neighborhoods, resulting in the indirect displacement of many longtime residents. Gentrification occurs when substantial investments flow into a neighborhood, increasing property values and changing the demographic makeup of the population. On one hand, this brings better infrastructure like bike lanes and public parks. But on the other hand, native residents who cannot adapt to the rising property taxes and home prices are forced to move. Zoning laws that prioritize single-family housing areas also limit the development of high-density housing, worsening the affordable housing crisis. Seattle is currently grappling with a severe drug crisis, particularly due to the rampant spread of fentanyl. In 2023, there were 524 recorded overdose deaths, surpassing the 508 deaths for the entire year of 2020. This year, Seattle is projected to exceed the record of 1,000 overdose deaths set last year, with the majority of these fatalities involving fentanyl. This alarming situation paints a stark picture of the city, likening it to a zombie land. One proposed solution that has sparked debate is the establishment of safe injection sites. These are facilities where drug users can consume heroin, fentanyl, and methamphetamine under medical supervision. Cities like Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco have proposed such facilities as a means to prevent overdose deaths and improve public health. Advocates point to the success of safe injection sites in Canada, such as the Insight facility in Vancouver, which is credited with saving lives. However, safe injection sites are also a source of controversy. Critics argue that these facilities contribute to increased litter, crime, and disorder in their surrounding neighborhoods. Reports from Alberta, Canada, indicate that safe injection sites have not reduced overall overdose deaths or opioid-related emergency calls, but have instead led to an uptick in crime and public needle disposal. Officials from Ontario, Alberta, and Manitoba have emphasized that these sites have made other residents feel less safe. Seattle also hosts a needle exchange program managed by the People's Harm Reduction Alliance. This initiative provides clean syringes, community support, and education on safer drug use practices. Despite these efforts, they have not been sufficient to address the growing drug crisis, which continues to negatively impact public safety and community health. It is no surprise that these issues have significantly affected Seattle, a city grappling with major challenges related to crime and public safety. Property crime and violent crime are on the rise, instilling fear among residents. Recent data shows a sharp increase in theft, robbery, and assault incidents. Simultaneously, the controversy surrounding the defunding of police has heightened tensions. Many citizens and politicians are debating the effectiveness and long-term consequences of reducing the police budget. Some argue that these funds should be redirected to social programs, while others worry that such cuts will diminish the police's ability to maintain order and combat crime. Seattle is also dealing with severe traffic congestion and an inadequate public transportation system. Traffic jams often peak during rush hours, leading to delays and frustration for commuters. The existing public transportation, while operational, frequently falls short of meeting the needs of the growing population. The lack of effective integration and low service frequency forces many people to rely on private vehicles, exacerbating the congestion problem. This situation worsens even further during protests or public demonstrations. Protests and social movements have long been a significant part of Seattle's history. One of the most notable was the Seattle WTO protest in 1999, where thousands of demonstrators took to the streets to oppose global trade policies, perceived as harmful to workers and the environment. This protest captured global attention and highlighted the city's strong spirit of activism. More recently, in 2020, there was a notable protest area known as the Capitol Hill Organized Protest, or Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone. This area was occupied by demonstrators demanding police reform and social justice following the death of George Floyd. For several weeks, Chop Chaz became a symbol of the national struggle and debate over social justice, policing policies, and citizens' rights without a police presence. Protesters even planted some of their own food needs in a city park. Although the zone was eventually dismantled after about a month, this movement underscored the deep social and political tensions in Seattle.